some of that footage TC has at the end of the movie.
You got that footage, TC?
Nice.
What?
I'm spending money like I just got paid. $100 bills, tell them keep the change.
We have in our culture, in our history, so many great stories. I'll never run out of stories.
Pop a bottle, about to make it rain. Let me give you something now to celebrate. Come on.
Like, I'm sensing some bias, dog.
I only have stuff against you, Card.
If you're wondering why I move the way I do, I just feel so good.
I actually am going to tell you this. I never set out saying, oh, I'm going to try to make films that are telling the story of LDS church history or anything like that. I look at all these ideas I have, which ones is the best story?
The following is an episode of Ward Radio and does not represent the thoughts or the opinions of KHTS, its owners, or any of its affiliates, nor does it represent the official opinion of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. With that said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the program. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Ward Radio. I am your host, Cardinellis. Today I'm joined in the studio by Luke Hansen, as well as via Zoom by none other than Brad Whitbeck, Jonah Barnes, and TC Christensen, who's the filmmaker who just recently brought us Escape from Germany, which is breaking all kinds of cool records for TC and for a lot of people that see it and like, cinema regarding the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We recently interviewed this guy here, Paul, the principal actor, who is side by side with Brad on set. And now we've got the director, TC Christensen, in the house, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about this film, what inspired him to do it, what his favorite moments of the filming process were, the whole 9 yards. So anyway, before you get started, TC, who do you got right there? You got an agent? Nobody told me that your manager was going to show up on set with you, man.
Oh, nothing goes through this except through my agent, Juliet.
All right, rock on. Well, Juliet, if there's anything, if we broach any topic that is out of his contract, please let us know, Juliet, and we will remedy this. We will remedy this grave oversight.
Give him a little pinch. Just give him a little pinch if he speaks out of turn.
Mm-hmm. Rock on. That's funny. So TC, now you mentioned in the pre-show that this is your biggest film thus far. Like, tell us it's breaking records. What's going on here, man?
Well, this is our sixth film, and all of our films have been successful and done well, but this one is doing better. I think that there's something, World War II and striking a chord with a lot of people my age, which is, more in the 30 to 32 range.
Yeah, target demographic, yes.
Yeah.
A lot of us, our parents were in World War II, and I've seen a lot of older people coming that are really touched, I think, and it's partly because it creates this connection to their parents. But our film, it's 1939, and Germany, and the president of the church is Heber J. Grant. He sends a note over to the mission president in Germany and says, the war is going to start in 3 days. Get those missionaries out. And that's basically the film. It's just getting them out and what it took. And it was not easy, and it took a lot of determination and a lot of miracles to get them out on time.
Oh man, you can't drop the M word, miracle, without just telling us what's the number one number one miracle that stands out in your mind, man. That happened to them.
Well, I'll tell you, they sent one missionary to go find all of them, which is kind of weird, right? Because missionaries it just always is. Yeah. One guy. And
back when missionaries were real men and the mission presidents trusted them, and we were dealing with spiritual Navy SEALs, not these pansies, But anyway, keep going.
That would have been a better trailer than what we.
Yeah.
Not really. So this one elder goes out, and he's just going up and down the train routes because that's where they all are.
Yeah.
And this guy, I'll tell you, one of those miracles was that he felt inspired to leave the train depot at one point and goes wandering up through the village. And he wanders up through and he comes in front of a pub. Well, you're not supposed to go in pubs. That was alcohol. And you're not supposed to go in there if you're missionary.
Interesting.
And he stands there staring at it and ends up feeling pulled to go inside. And he finds the last two elders sitting at a table at this pub. And I don't know how else to explain that other than miracle.
Oh, right. Well, either that or it's just some missionaries had a really tough day. And just needed to unwind.
Yeah. We've all been there. And Luke, you've been there.
Yeah.
No,
Who
my
among us
story
on
is
our
not
missions
nearly that
didn't go to a
interesting.
pub?
Who
Right?
among us?
Okay, so what on earth? Okay, so TC, this looks phenomenal. I mean, the production value of this, I'm watching this trailer, and of course, I'm pausing in all the scenes where you can see Brad Whitbeck in a fedora, because that is just awesome.
Wow.
And you know, he's got a big fan base here. But I mean, this is a phenomenal looking film. This is superb. And this is, I think, part of the reason why it's being so successful is because Mormons are starved for good Mormon movies again. Okay, that look good. A huge problem with niche film is none of us like Christian films because they're preachy and they're cringe. Okay, let's just be honest. No Christian filmmakers want to take a risk because that might look sinful. Okay, and then also they just plain old either don't have the practice, don't have the wherewithal, or don't have the money to make it look good. And it seems like you actually were able to pull off a very this is stunning, man. I mean, this looks like Jason Bourne is running into the Mazer building or something, you know? I love it. This is great. So I have a feeling that with the trust factor that you gain by looking at the trailer, and also the obviously very talented crew and everything, that it plain old looks good. I want to go see it. So I know yeah.
One thing I want to add, TC, I know we went to a showing out in Utah where we were at the same theater, and we chatted about it, and you'd mentioned that a lot of the theaters were full of older people. But I've been asking around to all of my friends who have gone to be seeing the movie since, and I was telling them that and checking just from people that I know. And I was like, hey, what were the demographics like in the theater? Was it mostly older people? And most of them has said, it's a lot of young people actually getting out in there. And so I think that as it's picking up steam and as people are starting to talk about it more, you're sparking interest with more young people because of things like what Cardin's talking about, where they look at the trailer and they're like, oh, this actually does look really cool.
Yeah, nobody wants to go watch cringe to support their friend. This freaking looks awesome, man. TC,
and,
this
Brad,
looks great.
And Brad is correct. So TC probably knows this better than anybody, but I'm looking at the box office results for the film. It looks like it's picked up steam. It didn't shoot high and then dwindle, that it's actually gaining, gaining a lot of revenue. You're doing better in the third week, in the fourth week than you did in the first few. So
yeah. Okay. So here's my question. Here's my question, TC. You're like the singer-songwriter. You get to go make movies about the subjects you want to make movies at. You're not just some Paramount guy. You're not just some Universal guy. You get to choose what you want to make. What was the birth of this film? Was there a moment where you were just reading a book, or you were in a conversation with your, an old mission companion, and he said, hey, I got an ancestor who does this? What was the birth of Escape from Germany? What was the movie where you what was the moment where you sat the book down and you said, I got to make a movie of this?
Well, that's kind of drawn out. I don't know if I can say there was an actual moment, but there were a few elements that I just thought couldn't get out of my head. I thought that they would be so good. One is, we were talking about that there was one guy sent out to try to, not two. That's a better movie protagonist, to have one person. So you don't have two people going, hey, what do you think? And should we do this? And then, have this buddy kind of a film. It's just Clint Eastwood going out there. And then I actually first came across this because I had just made 17 Miracles, and I was invited to speak at a Sons of the Pioneers thing. And as I did, they set me next to a guy and said, talk to this guy. He's interesting. Well, he was interesting. He was in his 90s. And he said, I was one of those guys that had to escape from Germany right before World War II. And he said it like I wouldn't know what that is. I went, oh, you were one of those guys? Well, very good. That's the first time I ever heard about it. And then I kept hearing about it. And that's one clue to me, is if people just keep pestering me about, man, this is a good story. It's a good story. But beyond that, what really got me going is, as I learned more about the story, I learned that it's got a great protagonist who has a goal, and it's a worthy goal. He's not just trying to get himself some more potato chips like I would. He's trying to do something worthy, and there's great obstacles. They're Nazis and German shepherds and all of this pre-World War II stuff going on, and then there's an ending that I think is very satisfying for the audience. So it had all those things. So I go, let's dive in.
Okay, so what is your process of choosing a film? Because you're a very interesting kind of filmmaker. Okay, you're not just some television director that's focusing on making it as cheaply as possible, so the producer that does the ROI on it knows that you made as much money as possible. Okay, you're not an actual employee of the church, so it's not like you're doing, uniquely didactic cinema that's going to be used in like Sunday school. You're an independent film producer and director that kind of gets to march to his own tune and gets to choose his own subjects that he wants to talk about. Like, what's your process, man? Like, what do you do to choose a topic? I mean, you're one of those guys that, I don't know, you throw spaghetti against the wall and sees what sticks? Or do you feel that like you actually have a rubric, like Blumhouse has his specific rubric for choosing topics? Like what makes it into your pipeline, and why does it make it into your pipeline and not hit the cutting room floor, man?
Boy, that is the longest question I've ever been asked in my life. I'm exhausted. I don't know how. I got to take a breath.
Welcome to WardRadio, bro. No.
Sorry, I have to tease you.
It's all good. Well, don't worry. I'll joke around about your bad lighting in that school movie too.
Yeah, well, here's for me. I consider myself kind of an everyman. And I think if it touches me and I feel like it's a story I'm interested in, I think most people will be also. And I don't go out and, do the numbers and make sure I've got enough people that want to see this and all that. It's if I feel good about it, I would like to see it. And I think I can add something to the story. There's stories out there that I've tried that I just didn't know what to do with them. So I want to make sure that I feel like I can it up a little bit from my own experiences and skills, whatever that might be. And then we write a script, we meaning me. I write a script, and if the script passes mustard, if it looks like I really feel like this is worth doing, then we just raise the money and get going.
Okay, yeah. But what makes something pass muster to you? Is it like
those things I'm telling you, that it has a protagonist and it has a conflict and obstacles, and he's after a worthwhile goal. Mm-hmm. Those are really important things to me. And I actually am going to tell you this. I never set out saying, "Oh, I'm going to try to make films that are telling the story of LDS church history," or anything like that. I look at all these ideas I have, which one is the best story? And if it's not, we have another film coming out that's not an LDS history church, because it was the best story that I have. That's what matters. People think, wow, if I do really clever cinematography and I have a certain actor in the film and all that, it ain't that. It's how good is your story.
So it's not about you, Brad.
Yeah,
tone
Brad.
that ego down.
I'm not even the main guy, guys.
So I actually have a question kind of along these lines, because your films, I've seen 17 Wonders and Ephraim's Rescue. And those are your films, right? Those
17
are fairly,
Miracles. Yes.
17 Miracles.
17 Miracles. So that one is fairly like Latter-day Saint, meaning that the film has an approach of people knowing about the church when they come into it. Is this film, and are all your films like that, or does it take kind of like a layman could walk into this and have a good sense of what's going on and still empathize with the protagonist, or is it kind of your audience more members of the church that have that knowledge coming in?
Well, some of them do require a little more background than others, and you said it. Those two pioneer films probably do. This film, I don't think as much, because it's just laid out that Hitler's going to start this war, and these guys got to get out. Anybody can understand that and relate to that. Mm-hmm. And there isn't that many like inside jokes or stories or whatever. I've had several people come in and watch the film that I didn't realize weren't church members until after, and they get talking to me, and they talk to me pretty much just like any of the other people that have just seen the film.
Undercover progmos. They're out there. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally just kidding. Hey, so two questions really fast. What was your favorite moment of the film? I mean, it's interesting. I was watching a documentary the other day, and I thought it was so interesting that Walt Disney said that the favorite moment of all of his movies that were ever made under his purview was the moment in Cinderella, where her dress comes on with the bibbidi bobbidi boo thingy, and he said that was his favorite moment that was ever created in the Walt Disney Company when he was there. He thought that was truly movie magic, right? So looking back at everything you've done so far, whether it's this movie or other previous ones, let's start out with this movie. What was your favorite moment in the movie? Where just like, as the director, having been completely familiar with the source material, familiar with the process, familiar with everything that happened, where you kind of sat back and you said, all right, that was a good scene. That was a good moment. Which one am I going to be looking for when my duff is in that seat in Long Beach? You know what I'm saying? Again, we're forsaken the LA Mormons. You guys are spoiled with this cool indie cinema stuff. And then we got to fend for the scraps here in Los Angeles, even though we're better members than anybody and everybody knows it. But I'm just kidding. But
objectively,
like, what's the best moment I'm going to be looking for when I watch this movie, TC?
You're going to be looking for the moment that you're not going to see, because I'm going to tell you this is my Walt Disney moment.
All right.
Film, okay? Which was, I got the idea just before we started, well, we're going to need a lot of extras. Let's not go out and just hire extras or get people to come and be extras. Let's get the descendants of these actual missionaries. Ooh. And we hired a few people that were out there looking, and they did a great job, and they found descendants, and they were our extras. And every day I would introduce these families that had come from out of state and long distances sometimes, and I would introduce them to the cast and crew before we'd start for the day. And every day I'd cry, because it just got me to see these fresh-faced people so happy to be there. My top moment, I think, for me making this film is we would be doing a scene, and we would place, say we had Brad Whitbeck, who's with us, and he's playing Pharaoh Macomber, and we would have the Macomber son or grandson or whatever sit next to him in the scene. And as we were about to roll, I'd look and I'd see them talking to each other, talking about the person that he descended from. And man, it was just like this connections happening. And all of the cast and crew felt it. Didn't you, Brad? Didn't you kind of?
Absolutely.
How for you?
It was amazing, because for me, from an acting standpoint, I'm portraying a real person in history, right? And what better source can I get than their descendants, right? And so I would chat with these descendants of Elder Macomber and ask them, okay, what was he like? What's your favorite story about him? Right. And they would tell me all of these stories about their grandpa. And then I'd be like, okay, how do I incorporate that into my character with the lines that I have? And how do I make sure that I'm making them proud of their grandpa in this movie that we're now about to do? And it was so cool because I've never had a project where I have that kind of insight into a character that I'm going to be playing. So having that happen for all of these actors was just, it was mind blowing.
Well, what'd they tell you, Brad? What did they tell you? Was there some story like, well, actually, he, survived Vietnam 20 years later and, has a stub leg and you should be walking with a limp or something like what? Like, what was the cool story they told you, Brad?
So, dude, they were telling me, you would love this guy, Carden, because look, one of the things he does in Germany, he's taken all of this footage. He's got a little camera with him, and he's taken this footage behind enemy lines of Nazis and the way that they're treating people there. And he hides this away, sneaks it through to bring it home. And some of that footage TC has at the end of the movie.
You got that footage, TC?
Nice.
What?
Yeah.
Bro.
Well, let me tell you guys, when I realized there was that footage and that Pharaoh Macomber had shot this, I started searching for family and where is this film, because I want to get the film and transfer it in a way that I would want to use it.
Yeah.
And it turns out that the son of Pharaoh Macomber that had the film lives a half a mile from me.
Oh, wow.
Here. Yeah, I just drove over and talked to him, and he gave me the 8mm film.
Oh my God!
See, I hear stuff like this, and I think, I'm not trying to be too overly sentimental or whatever, but that's not just a film that you made, right? That's not just a cool story. Like, besides the fact that it's real, that it really happened, which already sets it apart from most things you're going to go see at a theater. This is real. This really happened. But it's like a cultural touchstone. It's like, this is the story of real people whose descendants are there on screen with you. We're all learning their stories together, reliving their stories together, and honoring their memory together. Like, that's way more than just a film, That's very cool. It reminds me of when I watched 17 Miracles, which is a film that I love to hate because I can't watch with anybody else because I cry like a baby in that film because it's my ancestors. I had ancestors in those handcart companies. And, the Rocky Ridge scene is it's like the red coated girl in Schindler's List. It's like you can't stop crying like a blubbering fool because it means something more than just a cool story. It's my story. It's our story. And so it makes it 100 times more impactful like that. So it's amazing. You're not just making films. You're making, you're really speaking to the identity of people who go to see it and people who star in it. And you have Brad Whitbeck in your films, which sets it apart from everything.
Yeah, exactly. Which means that the young woman demographic of viewership just skyrockets,
like through the roof.
Like this is like Elvis Presley 1954, Brad Whitbeck 2024. Good news. Yeah,
that's actually a good question. Is this like a guy film, or is it an everybody film? Or because that World War II stuff, it's more of the male demographic that's going for that. So is that what you've seen from the film? Is that tendency, or is it more like everybody?
I'd say very even for that, Brad. In the audiences you've been in, would you say?
Yeah, and not just in the audience, but also in the story. Like there's a cool moment. One of the storylines follows a sister missionary in her efforts to try and get out. Right. And so it's not like we're only following this one missionary and his quest. We have that as the main through line, but there's a couple of other things with a sister trying to get out, a mission president and his wife trying to get out. And so there's really awesome stuff in there for like whole families. And yeah, when I've looked at the theaters, it's an even split. It's everyone has something cool to see in this movie.
All right, dude. That's awesome. So I just got a question. Why aren't there more TC Christensens around, man?
Because there aren't enough potato chips. To be like me, man, you got to eat a lot of them. Most people aren't willing to do that.
Oh, so you think nobody's willing to sacrifice and be in the trenches of filmmaking? They're a bunch of pansies, and you want to. It's the little red hen up in here. You want all of the reward without putting in the hard work. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying I eat a lot of potato chips. That's all.
Oh, it's a non-metaphorical.
Hey, TC Christensen, question for you, brother. Have you made your best film, or
is it in me?
Is it up and coming?
Well, we have in our culture, in our history, so many great stories. I'll never run out of stories. But have I already found the best stories, and now my stories maybe aren't going to be quite as good? Man, I don't know the answer to that. I'm going to put a lot of time and effort into still finding the best stories out there. But, at some point in a few years when I'm dead and looking back, I don't know what I'll say about that. Each film has its own, for me, rewards and regrets and all that kind of stuff. So that's a good question, but I don't know the answer.
Okay, well, what would you say to the young BYU film student that looks at your films and is like, dude, I want to make the next Escape from Germany, man? What would you say to that cat who's watching your stuff and wanting to emulate your stuff? He's out there. There's 7 of them out there, and they're willing to eat all the potato chips, baby. So what would you tell him? Like, do you get Lay's or you get Ruffles? Like, what do we do here?
Well, I think it's easy to try or think you're going to do it at a young age. For me, it's taken a lot of time to get to this point. And here was a great thing, I think, about my career was really as a cinematographer. I worked for predominantly 35 or 40 years helping everybody else make their films. And I learned a lot by watching other directors and producers. And I'd say, boy, that was smart. I got to remember when I get a chance, I'm going to do that. And I'd sometimes think, boy, that was stupid, and don't do that. And so I came into it really not doing these films until, I was in my middle 50s, I think, and I had a great basis to draw on. And man, I think it helped me immensely. So for the students you're talking about, I think that you've got to be patient and realize there's a craft here to learn. And I didn't learn. I mean, there's still so many things I'm not good at and I need to get better at and so forth. But you have to learn that craft, and you're not going to learn it just from school. You've got to be studying on your own and making your own films and getting out there and doing it. And then hopefully in school, you make friends with other filmmakers, wannabe filmmakers. And then when you get out of school, you go up through the industry together and you help each other, because it's a tough business. Freelance businesses are not easy. Like, I got a job, Mom, and I'm taken care of for the rest of my life. That's not how it works.
Yeah. All right. So we only got 5 minutes left here. So Jonah and Brad, feel free to chime in with your questions. Oh, Brad raises his hand already. He's so polite. He's the diplomat. He's the Canadian. Brad, take it away, bro.
Dude, just one thing I want to say. This is a super cool thing about this movie. In its opening week, this movie hit the top 10 on all billboards when it was in only 40 theaters. Right? So that tells you something about the number of people in those theaters. And that shows you how it was able to continue going to more theaters, right? So Cardin, at the beginning, when you were saying coming to a theater near you, that's true. Like as people go to escapefromgermanyfilm.com, they can request getting
great plug. Great plug. You threw in the URL, escapefromgermany.com.
Seamless
I love
plug.
it. That was a solid on-air read, bro.
Yeah. They can get people to, like, they can get this requested at theaters near them, right? And try to get more people to go into the theaters to see it. And
You know, in fact, I'm going to talk to Regal. I'll buy out the theater locally if we can do it. I think it's only a couple of grand to buy out a theater, if I'm not mistaken. You know what I'm saying? That could be cool. We should do that. Have like a WardRadio get together or something, you know?
Yeah.
A DJ.
Dude, that'd be so fun.
Get TC to show up, you know, maybe with some like awesome like ancestors from the LA area or something.
Potato chips
with
for the whole
potato
crowd.
chips for everybody. It'll be freaking sick. Okay, finish your thought, Brad.
Oh, and I just think, I don't know, there's maybe an aspect to this that is fascinating to me and interesting. You have on the website Escape from Germany, a story of heroic true events. And right at the bottom, you have this thing that says a world war is only days away, right?
I'm on the website right now. I'm showing the audience.
Awesome. So with a world war only being days away, I think it's really fascinating for us right now because in part, not just because of what's happened in the past, but because of a lot of the worries that people have right now, you know, and with what's going on in the world, and there's wars and rumors of wars and people feeling like, oh my gosh, Iran just attacked. Like, what are we supposed to do with this? What's happening? And so this heightened feeling of how does it look when a war is about to start? I think this is a really fascinating look into that in this film, TC.
And there's a great moral to the story that if you're self-medicating with booze in a pub because you can't handle the stress of the pending doom, your spiritual friends like Brad Whitbeck and Paul, they'll come and bail you out.
Come bail you out.
You know, and they'll just find you and they'll drag you out before Hitler and the Nazis come. You
That's
know
what I got out of it.
That's the main takeaway of the movie. Yeah.
That's the takeaway, main takeaway.
Yeah,
I had a question. So TC, I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but are you bidding for the film rights to the Skystone Chronicles and Dragon Thief? Are you in the bidding war for?
Oh, I've already got it. I don't even know what you're talking about, but I've already got it.
Well, it's wow. Then that's a high bid for the Dragon Thief.
Brad, you got to send him a book, dog. You got to send him a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's talking about a fantasy book series that
teasing
my wife and I wrote.
I'm teasing Brad's books that he's made.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's
That's
wonderful to hear that Escape from Germany is doing so well. So it's been in theaters for 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
Just over 3 weeks, yeah. And actually with what Brad was saying there, you know, they do a per screen average. And just until, I don't know, a few days ago, really, we've had the highest per screen average of any film that's been out during our time. And I'm so thankful to all the people that come and support us. You know, that's the only way you get to make another one is people get up and go to the theater and don't just say, oh, we need better entertainment, but they go and support it. Love them.
Hey,
without disclosing any numbers, so are your donors and people going to be happy with the results of the screening, or going to make more? Or what?
We have investors, and they're really great philanthropic based people. But what it means is, if I can pay them back, I get to make another one.
Yeah.
Hurrah! That's my point.
Hey, and he did make a complaint video that the church didn't sponsor his movie the day before it came out. So you're already good doing it better, TC. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, guys, let us know. Why is everybody laughing so hard? You know what I'm saying? So guys, let us know what you guys think about the movie if you had the opportunity to see it already. Unfortunately, it's kind of like an earthquake spreads from the epicenter. You know, there was a core release at the beginning, and now they're adding other theaters. I've noticed that fortunately now a theater that's within 30 minutes with no traffic, an hour and 30 minutes with traffic from me is going to be sporting the film. So hopefully I'm going to be able to drag my family there to see Brad Whitbeck's beautiful mug, as well as homeboy Paul dragging out all these missionaries. We're super grateful that you hung out with us, TC. Word on the street is that every once in a while you still show up to showings and ask people what they thought afterwards. Is that true, bro? Are you doing surprise visits to movie theaters?
Yeah, I do that, and I just try to be there to answer some questions and see if there's anything I can take, I think it personalizes the film. They see who made it, and they remember that. I have people from years and years ago tell me that, hey, you came in when we were watching some Ephraim's Rescue or something and talked to us, and it was great. I just like that as part of the process.
All right, rock on. A true filmmaker. That's like Cecil B. DeMille style. That's like old school Charlie Chaplin style. Okay, Brad, I see you got a question.
I got to tell you, some of my family, some of my cousins up in Idaho, they were in one of the theaters that you were at, and they had no idea. And then you stood up at the end. They're like, this is so cool. And so they were telling me about it. They were so excited about that. So it was cool for me to see this like firsthand on my end of like, oh, dude, TC is killing it, getting people psyched about this film, because that got them even more jazzed about telling everybody about it, and it was awesome to see.
Yeah, and why aren't you coming to Los Angeles theaters, TC? Like, what do you have against California members, dude?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sensing some bias, dog.
I only have stuff against you, Garden, not the whole.
Hold.
I ruined it. I ruined it.
Musket fire.
For a week, I'll come down.
That's funny. All right. Well, his name is TC Christensen. The movie is Escape from Germany. It's coming to theaters near you. Please go check it out. Support the film. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Was Brad Whitbeck the star of the show, or was it indeed Paul, the guy that had a couple more lines? Just let us know what you guys think, because we all know the real answer here at Ward Radio. And as always, for this and more, please check us out at wardradio.com.
I just feel so good.